It wasn't until I got into my first session of therapy and she asked me, why are you here? And I was like, oh, well, this is what's happened. I go to a church, but there are issues with me being gay, and essentially I have to make a choice of like being out and proud as a gay person or living my life through the church. But you know, like that's what it is with the church, you know, like being gay and all that stuff. And she sat there and she took a minute to herself and she was like, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And it wasn't until that point where I was like, oh, yeah, no, this is pretty bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I just didn't even realize it at that point. Like in my mind, I'd already had that knowledge that, you know, this is a church that obviously have their set ideas on what sexuality should be.
Yeah.
And I've come into that establishment knowing this. So I should have expected this to come.
So before we start this episode, we want to acknowledge that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have been having yarning circles on these lands for thousands of years.
Yeah, and the land that we're recording these episodes on is the land of the Wurundjeri and Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation. And so we just want to pay our respects to their elders past and present.
And acknowledge that there will be people, all of our listeners that will be listening on various lands across the country.
Yeah, it always was, always will be Aboriginal land.
Go willingly. You can do.
Welcome to the Queerfully Made podcast, the podcast where we talk about the intersection of faith, sexuality, and gender. My name's Aaron, an ex-Christian pastor and now out proud gay man from Naarm, Melbourne.
And my name is Ben, a once Christian leader who is now an out, proud and gay man in Melbourne as well. But today's guest is a bit of a link back to one of our episodes in season 1. So Pastor Marcy Paynter
And Beth Bolmers.
some fantastic people who came on our podcast in season 1 to talk about their journey with Gateway Church and their journey specifically to becoming a queer affirming church. Now, the catalyst for that journey started with their experience with a young gay man named Sam. And we have Sam on the podcast today. Now, before I welcome Sam, I just want to give some context as to what happened in that episode. Pastor Marcy talked about an experience that she had with Sam where her and her husband pulled Sam into a dinner one night at their place, welcomed him into their home, but had a conversation with Sam about his sexuality and basically said to him, if you want to continue being part of this church and contributing to this church and serving in this church, you can't do that if you were to have a boyfriend or to act out in terms of your sexuality. So basically, if you want to stay here, you can't be gay. And Sam had to make the decision that night whether he stayed in that church or whether he left.
And then years later, Pastor Marcy heard a podcast with Sam being interviewed where Sam talked about that experience of that night and that decision. And that's what led to them making the decision to become an affirming church. Marcy hearing that and her heart breaking at that bad fruit that the church had led to, the fruit that was growing.
Absolutely how she described it was that bad fruit.
So welcome to the podcast,
Welcome,
Sam.
Sam.
How are we?
It's like a clap pack episode.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I'm excited. Mike, I want to know, most people, if their pastor sat them down over dinner and said, you can either have a boyfriend and be gay, but you're not welcome here, or live life how Jesus wants you to live. Don't be gay. Don't be queer. Don't be LGBTQ, IA+. They would most likely choose to stay in the safety of their church with their friends, their community, and hide away their authentic self.
Pray the gay away.
What on earth made you say, you know what, this doesn't feel right, I'm out and not go back?
Well, yeah, it was not an easy decision, but it also wasn't made overnight. Like, it wasn't that night I chose to do that. I left that dinner thinking about it and being like, okay, yeah, no, this is what the church wants. And I knew going into the church I was queer, so of course I was to expect something like this happening. That was what was going on in my mind.
Right.
And then I had just a lot of thoughts about it, and I slowly saw myself snowball into this like anxious pit, I guess. And like I was just like spiraling over the weeks. And all this time I took a break from the church. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to distance
Just
myself
tap
for
out
now.
for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can come back when I want to come back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
And then luckily I had people in my life who had had experiences with mental health, and I could observe the patterns that I was exhibiting were similar to what they had exhibited in the past,
Yes.
which led to me coming to a decision to sort of go into therapy. And that was what the original podcast I did was about, was my mental health, rebuilding that back up after the situation with the church. And it wasn't until I got into my first session of therapy and she asked me, why are you here? And I was like, oh, well, this is what's happened. I go to a church, but there are issues with me being gay, and essentially I have to make a choice of like being out and proud as a gay person or living my life through the church. But you know, like that's what it is with the church, you know, like being gay and all that stuff. And she sat there and she took a minute to herself, and she was like, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And it wasn't until that point where I was like, oh, yeah, no, this is pretty bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I just didn't even realize it at the point. Like in my mind, I'd already had that knowledge that, you know, this is a church that obviously have their set ideas on what sexuality should be.
Yeah.
And I've come into that establishment knowing this. So I should have expected this to come.
Right.
And for many people, they buy into the teachings and the beliefs. So they will. A lot of the other stuff has given me hope and life and joy, and the teachings have seen me grow and feel fulfilled. So if I want that to continue, this teaching I have to make sense of it. So there's an element there that, I mean, without having the hello, wake up from the therapist,
Yeah.
it makes sense that you would buy into it, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what those teachings and beliefs, the story that builds around your life in terms of what you, maybe I'll continue to believe this because it'll help me fit in.
Yeah.
Or I'll continue to belong here. I get to feel a part of this community still if I choose to do it their way.
Yeah. I think another aspect toward it was also I was a theatre kid growing up. And during this time, I had just auditioned for a musical in the community, like community theatre, amateur theatre,
Right.
Beauty and the Beast.
Ah,
Yeah, very fun.
For what role?
What role do you think?
Lumiere.
Close. Oh, no, actually, no. Like, same vibe, but not more human.
More human than Lumiere. Oh, Gaston's little friend.
LeFou.
LeFou.
Yes.
Think of his name.
Yeah.
I was Cogsworth in Beauty and the Beast.
Ah, great role. Yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, I had gotten into that show and I had a new community.
And is this with Gateways Theatre Company?
No, this was separate
This
to
was
Gateways. Yes. I had actually done Beauty and the Beast with Gateway a few years prior. Gaston. No, yeah.
Ah, so you
Not my
flipped
role.
it.
No, not my best one.
You don't strike me as a Gaston.
No. But yeah, I gotten into this community theatre role and I'd had a ball with it. And I'd gained so many new friends and people who not only accepted me but like celebrated me for my queerness. And, you know, being in community theatre, there's a lot of queer people in that scene. And we just got to chat and just like hang out, and I'd have these conversations that I had not had prior and got to explore so much more of myself in that aspect.
Yeah.
So I felt more comfortable leaving the safety net of the church because I had found something else as well.
Right.
And I'd found value in that and meaning in that.
Yeah.
Um,
And
Yeah.
safety.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. So this is around that time. So you had taken a break from the church.
You've got this new community.
this new community.
Yeah.
Started in therapy.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was very serendipitous, like the timing of it all. It was
Yes.
crazy. Yeah.
Yes. I had a very similar thing in my life where before I came out, I had just started doing musical theatre, and so I had that new community. And it is, we talk about it, the importance that community plays in that intersection.
Yeah.
Because you can be left high and dry. And I can imagine the weight you must have been feeling when Marcy and Rick told you in that moment, hey, if you're going to choose your authentic self, you won't be able to be on team here and have a part to play.
Yeah. That was hard. Because they said I was welcome in the church as a queer person. I was welcome to do that. It was until when I got to the point of leading that was when I started to, like when I had to adhere to their views and their rules and whatever they had set.
Because what conversations had there been about, or had there been any about you being queer or any other queer people in the church leading up to that night?
Yeah, how did they know, actually? Were you out?
I tell you, yeah.
Actually, that's a good question.
Had the same
Why didn't
question.
we ask Marcy
Yeah.
this? How did you even know, Marcy?
It was that one Sunday when you went to church in drag, and
Yeah.
they were like, actually,
Yeah.
Sam, could we have a chat?
Yeah.
real
Yes, so
quick.
were you out?
I was out to a select few friends during high school.
Okay.
I had joined I was 16 when I joined to the church. I was invited by a friend.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until about a year or two later when I started coming out to trusted friends. And a few of them were youth leaders.
Right.
And then when I graduated, at the start of every year, they have a camp, like a youth camp. And I was
Fearless.
Camp No Fear.
You Camp No Fear.
Camp No Fear. Yes.
Close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are fearless, though.
Yeah.
Yes. At Camp No Fear.
We are fearless.
Tune.
That's their song.
Tune. Yeah.
Gateway had a song.
Yeah, I'm sure. I really didn't want the
It was
singing to
awesome.
come back.
Yeah.
Season 2, it's back.
But yeah, I had got in my final year, and I remember having conversations with a bunch of my friends, and they were applying to be youth leaders, and I had heard nothing about this. I was like, oh, I didn't even know applications were open. Spoke to the head youth leader. I was like, when did applications open? Can I still apply? And he's like, oh, we're sort of hit our deadline, but you can throw your hat in the ring if you want, and we can see how it goes.
Oh, I can just feel the awkwardness. I don't even know this person.
uh,
I can just feel
And it's not on them. They,
Yeah.
like,
And me
they're
being, I was like so naive. I was like, oh, damn, like, if only I had known sooner. Yeah.
I'd love to apply. Where's the
Yeah.
application from?
Yeah, send me the link. I'll figure it out.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think they're closed.
And
Sorry.
then, a few days later, he was like, yeah, sorry, we have actually closed. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then that left up a space for me to, when you graduated, you went into young adults, which was essentially like a peer group with
course,
people
yeah.
after high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a worship group there. I applied to be a worship leader. Oh, I don't know. We just, we're unsure about it, like we already have a few worship leaders here. You're more than welcome, just sing back up. I was like, okay, no worries. And I spent like the first few months of 2017, the year after I graduated, feeling stagnant. Like there was such a very fast period of growth before that. And then I just felt so stagnant. And all my friends were still growing and moving forward. And I just hit a wall, and I said to one of my leaders in my young adults group, I was like, what's going on? I feel like there's something holding me specifically back, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this leader, him and I, we got along, but he was tasked with the job to tell me everything, and we weren't super close. But we were close enough for him to want to have this discussion. And we went to a cafe, and he told me all of everything. He's essentially was like, we still want you in the church. We still want you here. But we have had discussions about your sexuality. First of all, we know about it. Awesome. Love that. Love being outed, as we all do.
Yeah. Yeah, on my own terms in my own time.
Yeah.
geez.
And we've come to the conclusion that, if you are to lead in the church, you're to go with our views and our rules and all that stuff. And I was sat there and I was like, nah, I don't accept this. I don't want this. I don't accept this, because very nice man, but I was like, I'm not taking this from you.
Yeah.
That's it. And Marcy and I, we had a great relationship through the theatre program that they offered. So I messaged her. I was like, Marcy, what's going on? I'm hearing this. What's happening?
So you're the reason the dinner happened.
Yeah. I mean,
You asked for the dinner.
Yeah, exactly. I want to hear it from the head. Yeah.
That's right. I want to hear it from the top.
And she invited me over for dinner, and I came over. It was after work. I was like rushing through. I was still in my uniform. And they sat me down and we had a very nice chicken roast. It was delicious. And yeah, they said the very same thing. They said, yeah, you're more than welcome to stay in the church, but we believe in no sex before marriage. We believe in marriage between a man and a woman. And if you are to lead, then you ought to just follow those rules. And yeah, then I was like, okay, you've given me much to think about. I'm going to go ahead and take some time for myself. And yeah.
Were there any kind of pathways discussed in terms of like, if you did choose to stay, like this is what it could look like for you? Like, was there anything in place? Well, like, because I think of the only solutions that were really on offer for us was conversion therapy.
Yeah.
Was anything like that discussed in terms of like, if you were to stay, like here are the things that could be possible
You
next
can
steps
pray for your
you?
freedom or healing. Or
Yeah, all of
Yeah.
that.
It was never really discussed per se. It was potentially, I guess, not hinted at. I don't want to say that
Sure.
there was doing that, like to me, saying like, oh, maybe you may be straight eventually or
Yeah,
bi
yeah,
or something
yeah.
like that. But it was definitely like, you know, potentially the right person could come along in your life, and if you stay here in the church, then you can find someone godly enough for you. You know,
Yeah.
nothing was said outwardly.
No.
It was I left with some impressions though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And how did you, like then and there and during that therapy stage, how did you feel towards them as leaders and the church in general? Like where were you at? Like did the pendulum swing from being this was my safety place and this is my, I love this place, to I hate them, stuff them all?
Yeah. I was angry for a bit.
Yeah.
The initial shock wore off, and I was essentially going through grief.
Yeah.
Like I had lost this community.
Yeah.
And you know, and then like there's the 5 stages of grief, and I was like denial initially, and then
Yep.
anger. I was upset. I was hurt. I was disappointed. But that didn't last. It didn't last too long. I was continuing my therapy, and I had just like this. Yeah, it was anger for a young me. It was anger for like a future that I couldn't have anymore. And anger that I was spoken about. I think that was a big one without my knowledge.
Yeah.
That was part of the reason, like one of the bigger reasons why I didn't go back was because I was discussed without my knowledge. I was, you know, being spoken about behind closed doors.
Yeah.
And that hurt. That hurt a lot. By people like that were my friends too. People that I trusted with this information.
Yeah.
And I know what they were doing. What they were doing was what they felt was the best move.
Sure.
But yeah, it was like I couldn't help but feel betrayed, you know, by people. But yeah, it took a while to get over, but eventually I moved on.
Yeah.
And that was with help of a community outside of them. Yeah. The biggest hurt was losing my community.
100%.
Yeah.
So then coming into that podcast, talk us through how that opportunity came about, but also how the way that you showed up in that podcast, because the way that Marcy talked about what she heard from you, it's like you chose to show up with love and respect in the way that you spoke about them. And you had every right to throw them under the bus or speak about them with ill will. Or
You had every right to out them the way they outed you.
Yeah.
There's lots
you
of
chose not
different.
to.
You woke up and chose love. Is how I thought about it. Well, I re-listened to the episode today, and I thought that's how. First of all, how did that opportunity come about, and then why did you choose to speak about them the way that you did with such love? And just like you described before, you're still talking about them with a lot of respect and love. So yeah, how did that happen?
Yeah, my friend was a part of that podcast. Zoop was the podcast. And my friend Connor, we had hung out before, and I'd mentioned in passing going through therapy with him because he's like been discussing this mental health podcast. I was like, I've been through therapy, blah, blah, blah. And then he did a series on the podcast called, I believe it was called Real Talk. And he invited me to be a part of that. It was people in the public, how they had gone through an experience in their life or have dealt with poor mental health and how they've managed to get onto the other side. And yeah, he sat me down for a coffee originally. He asked for my story and I told him about it. And he's like, yep, that's it. Get on the podcast.
Yeah.
We want to have you here.
Yes.
But yeah, I chose, because it was a choice. It was a choice to not mention Gateway. I think I've actively not mentioned Gateway, if I remember correctly.
Right.
On that podcast.
No, yeah, you didn't name them at all.
And to speak about them with grace, because they, before the whole situation that happened, I had spent a good few years with Gateway, and I was when I started going to the church, I was very vulnerable. I was in this very weird space, being a young gay kid, being so full of like, I guess, just being a teenager, just hormones and rage and all of that stuff. And a friend of mine, just before I joined the church, he passed away by suicide. So I had been in this very strange mental space going into the church. And then I got invited by a friend and immediately I felt this warmth.
Yeah.
This like welcoming, welcoming comfort. It was crazy. I'd never felt it before. And that's what got me to stay. And I had continued growing into the church, and they were like an amazing, welcoming church. Before my issues, I still hold dear what they gave to me. The lessons, the values, the community, the people.
Right.
I just, before that. And I didn't want to take that away from them. I didn't want to be like, Gateway did this to me, they should be cancelled.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want that to happen to them.
Yes.
The reason I got on the podcast and I spoke about my story was not to vilify Gateway or any church for that matter. It was because my experience is not the first,
No.
and it's not the last.
No, absolutely.
I wanted to talk about my experience because I want other people to know that they're not alone, like who have gone through all of this, and for churches to know that times are moving forward. Like this is our, like if you want us, we're willing to come. You know what I
we
mean?
would love to be there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're your creative team's biggest asset.
Honestly,
aren't
you want an interior design? Like,
we? Yeah, you want
figure it
people
out.
with time on their hands.
Yeah.
Double income, no kids, tithing. Think about all of it.
Yeah.
There are lots of upside here, people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't make
I
us.
mean, just the dollar signs alone, you should be seeing.
Yeah. Honestly. But yeah, I just like it. Just I don't know how to explain it. It was like it was not for me. The reason I went on was not for me. It was for the young gay kids that are going through this now, and for the churches who are dealing with it. Like who are, I guess, like Gateway were on the fence about where they were actually sitting. You know what I mean?
Did you hear from anyone from that world after you did the podcast? Like when it came out, did you get hate? Did you get like, what was the response?
No hate, which was great.
Great.
Great, no hate.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Love
It was nice to not really have to deal with that. I mean, no hate to my face, at least. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Were you nervous of?
Oh yeah. I was
Really?
very nervous. I didn't listen to the podcast. I don't think I still have.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was very overwhelming once it came out, and I got the Instagram post. It's like, oh yeah, Sam's podcast is out. I was like, okay, put my phone down, put it away. Yeah. A lot
So
of
what
my
you're saying is you don't want us to tag you in the post.
no. This one's fine. We moved on. But yeah, it was. It was very overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I was a bit scared of the backlash and all that stuff because I had essentially dragged this church, But no, nothing but support I got from my friends, from people who I had known in the church.
Yep.
It was actually very vindicating a little bit.
And then got a message from Marcy.
I did.
Yeah. She'd obviously listened to the podcast and heard you talk about the last 2 years of your life. What was that like, getting that text message?
Because they still weren't affirming at this stage. When
No,
when
they
she texted you,
weren't. No.
this just she'd heard the podcast and was like, wow.
Someone had introduced her to the podcast and said,
someone
you
in the
need to
church.
listen to this.
Yeah.
And then she heard your story and then messaged you. What did that message say?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but it wasn't.
No,
it
I
wasn't
want it
bad.
word for word.
Yeah.
I want
I-
details
yeah,
here.
yeah.
I want the other side of the story. We want everything.
Yeah. It was positive. I
Yeah,
remember that
great.
being positive. She said she heard the podcast. She was very proud of what I said. Very thankful that I didn't mention the church. And she was like, yeah, do you want to just grab a coffee and we can chat a bit more about it? I'd love to have the opportunity. And I said yes, and we went to a local cafe.
Not the same cafe that Brother Boy took you to last time, was it?
Oh, no. Yeah, no.
I'm not going back to that one.
Imagine same
Trauma
table.
bell.
Same
Yeah.
So that's a choice, though.
Yeah.
You could have just been, okay, thanks, and moved on with your life. But again, you made the choice to, no, I'll go and have coffee with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it's not about me anymore.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
want it to... I mean, also a selfish part of me was like, well, what do you have to say? You know what I mean? And
Buy me coffee.
yeah. But yeah, it was not... I went in and I was fully going to, just tell her exactly what I was feeling. And before I could even say anything, Marcy just went, I'm so sorry. Which is crazy, to have the head pastor of a church
Yes.
apologize.
It's very crazy,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's
Right?
unheard of.
Yeah.
She's one of the good ones.
So beautiful.
Yeah. And this was back in 2022.
Yeah.
And we had a very long chat, and I told her how I felt, and I told her exactly what I'm saying now. Like, you know, I felt betrayed, I felt hurt. These were my friends, you know, you were my friend, you know. And she sat and she listened and she took it in, and yeah, she chatted to me. She's like, we want to change. We can't do this anymore. To know that, like, we are a church where their motto was like, come as you are, and to expect people to, I guess, fit their mold, even though we've welcomed you as who you are. You know, it's hypocritical.
Beth said on our episode, come as you are, but don't stay as you are.
Yeah,
You know, it was very much the welcoming,
yeah,
but not affirming motto.
yeah. And I can understand that sense in a way. You know, your negative traits, you know, all of that stuff. But when it comes to something you can't control, it's like,
Well, Marcy corrected Beth in the episode. She said, yes, there's still elements where that is right. Like,
Yeah.
We should be growing and developing as human beings, but when it comes to sexuality, no, that's not what we mean anymore.
Yeah.
But it was very much the case then.
yeah. And I could sense that she was still learning at that point in time and all of that stuff. And
On a journey.
yeah. And she asked me at the time, she's like, if you ever want to come in and have a chat, you know, with a few people and all that stuff. I said, yeah, no worries. I'm more than happy to do that. Because again, it's not about me. And I had this experience, and as awful as it was, the motivation to not have anyone else go through it was higher or better on the priority list than my own safety, my own well-being, and my own, like, I guess, mental health. Returning to the church, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it was still fresh at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've got a very well-rounded, like a very mature outlook, I think, on it. And I think you've been able to navigate that intersection that we talk about so well, I think. And I think we've already heard some of the reasons that's the case, is you had community that you developed, and that's a very serendipitous time. And you went to therapy. Like, these are the things that come up in every episode. If you do these things, you'll make it through the intersection, not unscathed, but with less harm.
Yeah.
Tell us about, I want to fast forward, and I'm sure we're going to jump backwards and forwards in the story, but I want to, so you've had that conversation with Marcy. Then was it just back to both living your own lives? Like, did you know what they were up to as a church? Had you kept following their story?
I had heard whispers through mutual friends and all that stuff of how the church was going, and I had been to friends' weddings where Marcy was the celebrant and all of that stuff. So I'd heard like small conversations and all that stuff and asked how it was going, not being like, are you affirming yet, but just being like, how's the church going? How's everything? She's like, yes, it's going well, all that stuff. And then, it really wasn't until your podcast that I got like a real solid like understanding of how much they'd actually been through the past few years.
Right.
Yeah, I remember the day after it, like that episode. What is it called? Launched? Aired? It's not aired. I don't know. Went live.
Released.
Released. That's the word. Thank you. I remember receiving your message and reading it, going, I had no idea that the person we were talking about in that episode with Marcy and Beth, that was the trigger for it all. For the reason that they even went down the path of considering becoming an affirming church, which is a very rare thing. Had no idea you'd be listening, number one.
Yeah.
And number two, I had no idea you didn't know. And then from where I read your message, I was like, oh, Sam doesn't know. I remember calling you going, Sam didn't know.
Yeah.
And then I called Marcy. I was like, Marcy, Sam didn't know.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah. Tell me about what it was like listening to that.
Yeah, well, you guys uploaded clips to your stories and all of that stuff, and I had a friend from the church share one to their story about Marcy and Beth talking about me. I was like, this story sounds a bit familiar.
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
I think I play a role here.
Yeah. A kid in their theatre space. And I was very shocked. I was shocked. I knew I had made a part. Like I was a piece of the jigsaw, you know what I mean? I didn't realize I had played a vital role towards them moving forward. Like Marcy did speak to me and she was like, yeah, we do want to move forward, we do want to change, we do want to grow. But she also mentioned there are other queer people in the church as well. And I was like, okay, no worries, like I'm one of many.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I had, like boom, boom, like knocked on their door, essentially been like, hey, it's time to grow. And then I heard your podcast and I listened to it. It was the day before my birthday, big week.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah.
It could have been a bad birthday depending on how that episode went.
Yeah, I was like, I genuinely was like, should I listen to this? Or should
is
I
this going to ruin my birthday?
But I chose to anyway. And it was very enlightening.
Love it.
Yeah.
I had actually someone reach out to me that is part of my story.
Yeah.
And has heard, was the catalyst for how I got to leave the church, actually.
Yeah.
And he heard the episode where I
We
talked
talked about him.
Yeah. And he reached out recently, actually, and was like, I heard the episode. I had no idea. So I know the feeling of like being able to share, and I gave him even more detail than I went into when I first did the episode.
Yeah.
But to be able to he was like, it was really touching to hear, that I was a catalyst in some way, that my actions, what I had chosen for myself, actually had a real impact and is continuing to have an impact.
Yeah.
Like when you hear now that Gateway is an affirming church, like what does that mean for you?
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It is so cool.
Yeah.
And as sad as it is to have missed out on that opportunity with Gateway, I'm so happy that they're doing it. It's. I mean, all churches should do it.
Yes,
it shouldn't be an affirming church. It should just be.
It should just be a thing.
Yeah,
a church.
Yeah,
where everyone is welcome as they are.
Exactly. Yeah. But to see their growth and to, even the pushback that they're receiving, like it's rough, but to see them standing strong in their decision and. Holding ground, paving the way, I guess you could say, like especially down in Frankston, which is suburbs.
It's not the middle of like Metro Melbourne where you expect a church to be affirming, right?
Yeah.
It's in the burbs.
Yeah.
It is deep in the burbs.
Yeah. But it's awesome. I love it. So I don't know.
Would you go back? Or would you visit, or would you encourage others to go? Like, how does it?
I would definitely encourage people to go.
Yeah,
if you
great.
have the means to get there, if you're living local and you're looking for a church, absolutely go to Gateway.
Yeah, great.
And that wasn't scripted or planned. I was like, wow, I can't believe Ben's asking this question.
But they'll be
honestly.
using it as a promo.
Absolutely not.
You're welcome.
Yeah, not sponsored
I was
too.
like, this might be something I have to cut out. Like, we don't cut out things, but this might be one of them.
But yeah, no. If you can, you absolutely go.
Wow.
I have personally been on my own journey with faith in the past few years, and I think a church may not be for me anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you want to be in a church and you want a community, if Gateway is the same as they were when I was a kid, except they're also accepting of queer people, absolutely.
So some people don't make it through the intersection, and I think that's a really important piece to cover. We spoke about it on episode 1 a little bit and have spoken about it throughout this, especially as we're talking about that what next piece. It's that not everyone comes out of this unscathed, and the expectation isn't that you will be able to carry your... Like, yes, everyone should be able to be a Christian and be gay or lesbian or bi or trans. Like, they should be able to, but it doesn't mean that everyone will make it through this intersection that we navigate and still be a Christian and carry that. Not everyone will make it through. And so it's important to say, hey, you haven't. So what does it look like for you now on the other side?
Yeah. It's, I mean, I've made my choices. I've chosen to move on from a church, and my faith is still yet to be decided. But yeah, to like those people, it's just, you're not alone, you know, and it's a cliche, but it's true. But to know like you have, like to know that some people have been through this experience before, like you two, myself, you know, so many other people, and that's just in this room, you know, like that. We just, you can. It can be so hard to not feel so isolated in those experiences, but there are so many other aspects of life than a church, and as important as a church can be, there is like community elsewhere. There's work, there's friends, there's you know, the gym or
Musical
music
theatre.
theatre.
Musical
Yeah,
theatre.
exactly.
Come on.
There's so much more to life than what is going on right now, and it can feel so claustrophobic and so tight where you are. But once you look up, it's so much easier to see the beauty elsewhere. And you know, I'm always down for a chat. I love a chat. You know,
Yes.
if anybody wants to chat, I'm like, always open. But yeah, the choice you make is yours to make.
Yeah.
As long as you're happy.
Yeah.
I guess that's the most important part.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're going to meet people on whatever path you take. You know, we would, inside the church, you'd call them divine outcomes or divine moments, you know.
Or serendipitous, as
Or
you mentioned
serendipitous.
before. Yeah.
And they are still they exist outside of the church, you know. So if that's a path or a street that you want to take, then, you know, we would definitely encourage people to do that as well.
I want to encourage you and thank you because I think for whatever reason and however the cards fell for you and your story, you were able to come through the process and leave the door ajar for people like Pastor Marcy and Beth in the church at Gateway. Some people who journey through this process that we've all been through, they get so hurt and the way they have been treated and the way things happened for them left them angry and bitter, and rightly so, right?
Sure.
I think the piece that you touched on was your experience had been really good and was needed during your vulnerable moments of life. And I think for some others, there's a lot of really harmful stuff that goes on in that intersection. So rightfully, they're angry.
Yeah.
But you were able to navigate it in such a graceful way and gracious way that instead of a pastor wanting to slam the door and go, thank God we got rid of that little gay kid, right?
Yeah.
Like it was left ajar. And then Marcy hears you on that podcast. And again, it opens the door a little bit more. So much so that now the door is wide open for future Sams.
Yeah.
You have made a difference. And I think part and parcel to that is partly how they handled things, I'm sure, and how they treated you through it all to see you respond like that. But a lot of it is on you that you have been good through it. Like you've shown goodness and graciousness. And so thank you for future Sams on their behalf. Thank you for opening that door.
It's very nice. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's nice to feel to know that there are going to be some young queer kids who are able to come back to the church or come to the church for the first time even.
Or stay. Like if they've been brought up and they don't have to feel like they're going to get pushed out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would just say you hold your part in the story so well, so beautifully. And we heard that from Marcy and Beth the first time that they shared about it. But to hear it straight from you has been, gay from you, can't say straight.
Of course.
Has been so lovely. And to be able to witness it firsthand is really special. So thank you for being here. And we're just so grateful that we can have a platform for you, for this story to go even further, you know?
And how good is it that it wasn't a clapback? It was like they both just spoke to each other so beautifully.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if you haven't listened to season 1 yet and the episode with Pastor
go back and find that episode.
Have a listen. You'll hear the other side of the story.
It's pretty good.
It was. So I'm so happy that
this is part 2.
Both sides have come out.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
thank you, Sam.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me. This has been great. Awesome. Yeah.